I've just seen it through my own life, through my
Right.
clients' lives, how using EFT has had a direct result on their bank account. And even for me, I've seen it where I'm like, I've done nothing different strategically. If anything, I was working less and my income went up substantially more, double, triple, 10x, just as a result of doing EFT around, in this case, money block. So that is definitely my favorite technique. And I know you do EFT as well.
For those people that are listening that don't know what EFT, emotional freedom techniques, is, could you explain? Because I think EFT really is your zone of genius, especially what I've seen from watching your stories with your clients. You get results for your clients using EFT. And also, I think from what I can see, your zone of genius is helping them make more money, which everyone wants. So can you explain through your lens of what EFT is?
Yeah, and I'll preface this by saying there are different forms of EFT. And we'll get into that in a little bit. So if you're familiar, there's multiple types. If you're not, we'll get into it. But EFT stands for emotional freedom techniques, and it's also referred to as tapping. And why it's referred to as tapping is because the technique itself is where you're taking your fingertips and you are tapping on different parts of your body. These are specific points, not just any point of your body. They're your body's meridian points. It links back to ancient Chinese medicine. And what's really powerful about EFT at a high level, right, is that what happens is when you're doing EFT, you're tapping on your body on these points as you are saying things out loud. And what happens when you start tapping on these specific points is that it activates something called the piezoelectric effect. And we'll just say super, super high level. And Katelin, feel free to jump in here because I know you have a lot of knowledge on this too. But basically what happens as you tap is you're going to send calming signals to your body. That's what the tapping does. And when you're sending those tapping signals, or those calming signals rather, as you're talking about things that might be stressors for you or limiting beliefs, right? If we're talking about manifestation, let's use a really common limiting belief around like, making money has to be hard, right? When we're tapping, you fire up that neural pathway because you're bringing it to the surface when you feel all those negative emotions. And the tapping is causing then calming signals to go. What ends up happening is that you decrease the strength of that neural pathway and you're removing the emotional charge. And why I think this is so powerful is because there's a very distinct difference between like suppressing and ignoring your negative feelings to try to feel neutral or numb yourself and pretend everything's okay, and actually not being upset or bothered or triggered by anything.
Yeah.
And so what EFT allows you to do is, first of all, decrease that strength of that old neural pathway. So the way your brain is built around your certain beliefs. So for example, I have to work hard to make money. So we can decrease that. And once that neural pathway is not as strong, right, that is then when we can build the new neural pathway for what we want to have in our subconscious mind. So in this case, I can make money easily. I make money in my sleep. It allows you to change your neural pathways, but in a way where you don't feel like you're gaslighting yourself, where you like, you know what I mean? There's so many times where you're like, oh, I'm just trying to think positive about money, but I actually don't. Whereas using EFT, you actually get to acknowledge how you really feel and process through that and come out the other side building those new neural pathways. And so it's just so powerful because this is when manifestation actually works, right? You hear your thoughts create your reality, but you're like, but there's that disconnect, right? And it's because your subconscious programming is like all those limiting beliefs. But when you can actually change the neural pathways, you're actually changing your subconscious programming. That is when the reality that you're building actively starts to show up for you. And so when you're doing the tapping on money and your negative money stories and how you're so stressed out about the level in your bank account and you do all the tapping on it, then suddenly you wake up and you have DMs with people wanting to join your programs. You get unexpected checks in the mail, you get random refunds, like all these things start to show up. And I just love EFT so much because it's truly so powerful and so healing.
Yeah. And I can tell how passionate you are, and we both are, about EFT because it works. It's science. And like you said, the hippocampus records the new pathway, the new response to that original trigger, emotion, or memory or belief. It records a new response. So it's literal science, not like some, oh, like maybe this works, or we don't know how it works or why it works. We know why it works. And so that's the thing that's so magical about it. And I love that you use it with your clients. Can you talk about either a transformation that you've had with yourself around money or one of your client results that have just been mind-blowing? Because I know you have a bunch to choose from.
I'll share one of mine. And so earlier I said there are multiple types of EFT, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of different ways you can do it. And so I work with my clients on different types of EFT, and it depends on the client and it depends on honestly where they're at in their journey, because I think certain types, depending on the limiting belief and how stuck it is, can be really, really impactful. So I'll get into my story. So it was like over a few years ago at this point, maybe a year and a half, 2 years or whatever. And I was so frustrated because my passive income was not where I wanted it to be.
And we
So
love passive income.
yes. So at the time I had been making $500 a month passively. Like if you guys are familiar with like concepts of like upper limits or energetic minimums and maximums, like I was a hard 500 passively, like every month it would be $500, right? And I just remember being so frustrated. Now, at this point in time, I knew about EFT, but like I wasn't using it consistently. It wasn't like a full thing I was doing. It just was like, something we learned about in our certification. Anyway, I started tapping like crazy around money. But here's where it's a little bit different. And this is what I suggest to my clients when you're like really annoyed about something, like just like forget the like trying to be positive, glass half full, like just center in and be like, how do you really feel? Like, are you, and this applies to not just money, like this will apply to relationships or anything else, right? But I'm just using money as the example because that's what I do. But like, right, and you're so frustrated. So at the and like tapping on actually all of those frustrations, not tapping on affirmations, which is fine and it's its own thing. It's another form of EFT, but actually, like I call it trigger tapping because I want you to tap on how you actually feel. So I would look at my bank account and I'd be like, I'm so annoyed, and like I'm saying all this stuff like as I'm actually tapping through all the meridians, and like I would say the craziest stuff would be like, I'm so annoyed, like this is ridiculous. Like, no matter what I do, no matter how much I try, like nothing ever works. It works for everyone else. It doesn't work for me, blah, 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 like whatever else. Like actually your honest thoughts about money, not like, I wish I had more money. Like, how do you really feel? And you're probably going to be like, this sounds crazy. And then this is where I get comments all the time on TikTok where people are like, I can't say it out loud. I'm like, say it as you're tapping. But anyway, because you're then bringing up all of your triggers, your subconscious blocks, your beliefs around money, right? Like tapping through all of that. That's what I did for 30 days straight. I probably missed like 1 or 2 days because I'm a human, but I was really, really diligent about tapping for about, I would say, 15 to 25 minutes on average. Some days it would be 5, some days it would be an hour. It really just depended on like the trigger that I was tapping on. And I would specifically trigger myself because your triggers are your windows into your subconscious mind, right? So like you're like, I don't want to look at my credit card bill. I don't want to look at my debt. I don't want to look at all this other stuff. Go look at it. And as you're triggered, tap on all that stuff. And after the 30 days of tapping, well, during the 30 days of tapping, I started getting like one-on-one clients, like without even trying. So I was like, oh, I just got 2 new one-on-one clients, like, and I just put up a random Instagram story. That was easy. Didn't really think much of it. But after my 30-day EFT experiment, I had 10x my passive income, and I hadn't done anything else strategically. I wasn't posting more about it. I didn't do anything about it, but I went from $500 to $5,000 in passive income from like a monthly level. And all I had done was EFT, and specifically EFT on tapping on all the negatives. And so that really kickstarted my journey into number one, EFT being a powerful tool. And then number two, being a really big advocate of like, we have to actually acknowledge how you really, really feel. Like, let's just get really honest about it. Because if you keep shoving it down and trying to be positive, because that's what I was doing. I was doing the affirmations. I was trying to be positive, and I would get like little sprinkles here and there, but it wasn't consistent, right? So that's kind of like how like I came to be into this work, and I've just seen it, grow from there. But that's just like one example of like how your mindset work when you actually target your subconscious mind. It doesn't take that long, right? Like I know some of those other quick manifestation hacks can sound really great. Like, oh, let me just do whatever perfume method, and then tomorrow my ex-boyfriend's going to come back or whatever, right? But like when you do this type of work, it doesn't have to take that long. Like sure, it's 30 days, but it's like, if you could 10x your income in 30 days, like that's not that much. That is not that much.
Sign me up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that we manifest 95% from our subconscious mind and only 5% from our conscious mind. So that's why these little things that are the 5% conscious mind don't work, like these little perfume and this and that. I know we're like hating a lot of the methods, but it
I
just
know.
it's so frustrating. And we just want you to do something that's easy, simple, fun, proven, effective, like EFT. So that's amazing. I love those results. And I want to touch on something that you said, that people in your comments say that they're scared. I can't say that out loud. And again, that goes back to the toxic positivity thing. They're scared to say something out loud like Voldemort. Voldemort isn't going to pop out of, in your bedroom when you say out loud what you're actually feeling and what you're telling yourself a million times a day. You're saying like, I'm not enough, or I can't make money, or money's hard to make, or I'm not worthy of this amount of money. You're saying that all day long to yourself anyway. What's the difference saying it out loud, right? Other than like you actually are going to be able to change your circumstance, because like we said, that amygdala is activated when you're thinking of the trigger, the emotion, the belief. And what you're doing is, like you said, the neural pathways, you are literally rewriting what's going on somatically in your body, and your hippocampus records the new feeling, belief that you want to believe, that supports your manifestation and changes that 95% subconscious mind, which is how we operate through the world. So it's kind of like a no-brainer.